This is www.aashah.com. Looking at current affairs for 21st October 2016. The news items which we have picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 7. The first one, panel for immediate reduction of stray dogs. This is regarding the stray dogs problem, especially in Kerala, where the issue has become very prominent now. The Supreme Court is looking into the matter, and Supreme Court set up a committee led by former Kerala Judge Justice Jagan. So it has given its report, and we'll look into this in its recommendations. The next one is grand plans to develop tourism circuit. So this is regarding the tourism circuit planned in Telangana. We have specifically picked this up because of a Buddhist stupa mentioned, and we'll discuss about stupas in a little culture too. Next is no need to panic, cardholders told. This is regarding the debit card issue which came up presently, where many bank customers complained that their cards have been fraudulently used in countries like especially China and USA. So the payment gateways are looking into the matter. The National Payments Corporation of India, which is the national payment gateway for RuPay. So there are 3 payment gateways which work: RuPay, MasterCard and Visa. MasterCard and Visa International. RuPay is India's launched gateway. So they are looking into these issues when card data has been compromised. Next is US asks India to liberalize retail financial services. So this is regarding the Trade Policy Forum meet. We have discussed this on 19th October, day before yesterday. So Trade Policy Forum meet now has been conducted. The issues we already discussed on 19th too, they have been put into consideration before this forum, and what were their decisions we'll see now. Next is WTO members' commitment to development unchanged. So this is regarding an exclusive interview with WTO chief with Hindu conducted. But then what is important for us in this we'll discuss. Especially the Doha development agenda of WTO. What is it all about and the developments. Next is center turns cautious on regional connectivity schemes prospect. This is regarding the regional connectivity scheme. We have already discussed this again on 19th when we saw that many domestic airlines are planning to file a case in the court because they call this regional connectivity scheme of the center as unconstitutional and illegal. So now center has also turned cautious and has made some modifications to make this scheme more attractive to the airlines. We'll discuss that. And lastly, the news is ExoMars lander may have crashed on Mars after parachute and retro rocket problems. So this is regarding the ExoMars mission of European Space Agency, under which it had launched an orbiter and a lander to Mars. The lander was supposed to land smoothly, but it crash landed. So that is the news which has come up. We'll look into this also. Now looking at each of these news items in detail. The first news item about the stray dogs. This is the Supreme Court appointed committee. Justice Jagan is the chief, and he has given his recommendations. He says that birth control measures which are generally recommended, like sterilization of stray dogs, will not be sufficient because the rising population of stray dogs in Kerala is a huge problem, immediate crisis. This is a long-term plan. So what needs to be done presently are more stringent measures required. Mass culling is an option, but then that is criticized by animal lovers too, animal rights activists. Plus also the Supreme Court had earlier given its stand of compassion towards the stray dogs also. So he is not specifically recommended, but he says more stern action is required. Then next he says that there is no evidence that animal birth control procedures reduce the ferocity of in dogs. So many animal rights activists say that sterilization will reduce the ferociousness of dogs. They'll become more docile, and then these dog bite cases and nuisance of stray dogs will reduce. But then the committee says that there is no such evidence that this happens. Ferocity is reduced. And then the third point he puts off is that the process of catching dogs of ABC procedure, ABC means animal birth control, is violent and causes severe trauma to them. So even catching stray dogs, then sterilizing them, the entire process is a strain and against the animal rights of these stray dogs also. So they face trauma. And also he says that it is a huge burden on the exchequer also. And lastly, he says that 2 available anti-rabies serum have either serious after effects like paralysis or are simply too expensive. So anti-rabies issues are also there, the medication available. So for that he is recommending measures on the other side rather than sterilization. He is going towards other measures to control stray dog problem. So let's see, the Supreme Court will look into these recommendations and give its view. We'll wait and watch. The next news item is regarding the tourism circuit in Telangana, which has been planned. This is the Nilakandapalli Buddhist Stupa, a Mahastupa located in Khammam district in Telangana, and this will be part of the tourism circuit. So what is important for us is actually a stupa. So this is a stupa located here, plus what is a stupa? It's a religious structure of Buddhist, a religious architecture. The Buddhists visit these stupas, they do circumambulation, means they go around the stupa. So that is a religious practice. This is an anda, and the circumambulation going around the entire outside, this is the walkway through which this circumambulation is done. Plus these are the stairways here. You can see this is the Harmika. Harmika is the crown on top. There is a vertical rod here called Yasti. This is said to be passing through the axis of the earth. Then these are the Chhatri Chatras. So like Chhatri structures here. So this is the structure of a stupa. The Toran here is actually the gateway. So this is important, the architecture of stupa. Then the next news item about the debit cards issue, which we saw. Many customers had raised this concern, and now National Payments Corporation of India, which is the domestic payment gateway, RuPay payment gateway. So this has said that we are asked for reissue of debit cards, but that is just a safeguard measure. No, bank customers do not need to panic. All actions have been taken to ensure that the loss is minimal. And under the RBI policy, it is clear that if customers lose any data because of fraudulent transactions, then the banks will be liable to pay to the customers the compensation. So that is clear. So all three payment gateways which are functional in India, RuPay, Visa and MasterCard, are looking into the matter and swung into action, and there will be stringent action taken against these cases, ensuring minimal losses also. So this is about the recommendations which I have given to ensure that such thefts do not take place. Some recommendations to people as well, not clicking on any link without thinking, changing your ATM pins regularly, not sharing your ATM pin with anyone, using passwords with mix of letters and special characters. All these things we do know. So cyber crimes, to counter that, these are the steps which need to be taken. Then US asks to liberalize retail financial services. This is regarding the Trade Policy Forum meeting between India and USA foreign ministers, which took place recently, and we have already discussed this, as I said, on 19th October too. So the issues which we had raised then, again these issues have been discussed, and the government has responded on either side too. So the local sourcing requirement which USA had raised is the issue which US companies face in India. The government responded, Indian government responded, saying that we have responded to this to some extent by changes in the FDI policy recently, and they're specifically talking of single brand retail issue in which local sourcing norms were there. So they were relaxed only on case-to-case basis for some state-of-the-art or cutting-edge technology used. So now the change which they have made is that local sourcing norms can be relaxed for up to 3 years. There will be no such requirement, and it can be extended for 5 more years for state-of-the-art technology or cutting-edge technology. So that is the reform or change which we have already made, which should satisfy USA. The other demand which we had made for totalization agreement, this we have discussed. The totalization agreement is on social security. So social security deductions are done by countries so that is done in both India and USA for Indian customers working in Indian workers working in USA, especially in the IT sector. So government wants a totalization agreement which will ensure that such deductions, social security deductions, take place either in India or in USA. So that is what we are pressing for. So that also will be agreed to. So those are the aspects. Other aspects were also intellectual property rights issues, market access issues which USA has raised. So all those are also being looked into. Then the next news item is about WTO's members' commitment to development unchanged. So this is the WTO chief's view. He says that we are targeting towards further liberalization of global trade, and we are working towards Doha Development Agenda too. What is Doha Development Agenda? We'll take a look. So WTO was set up in 1995 as a successor to GATT, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. So this was through the Marrakesh Agreement. The first 3 sessions of WTO ministerial conferences in Singapore, Geneva and Seattle took place in 96, 98 and 99 respectively. The 2001 fourth ministerial conference at Doha came up with the Doha Development Agenda, and that has not been fulfilled in that round plus in the future ministerial conferences too. So this agenda remains incomplete or unfinished till date. So we'll see what is Doha Development Agenda 2. Basically what it talks for is more market access in agriculture, which developed countries are demanding, and developing countries are having apprehensions that they cannot open up their agriculture sector to these developed countries, otherwise their agriculture would be swept away. The farmers here would suffer. So this is one major issue which has been discussed about tariff and non-tariff barriers, that how much tariff means the duties which are imposed, how much should they be, and non-tariff barriers are without imposing duties, still trade is restricted on various grounds like sanitary and phytosanitary measures, that the goods do not remain up to the mark. They are having other concerns about cleanliness, sanitary, that's what it means, about they've been infected or something. So those aspects are there. Also TRIPS, trade-related intellectual property rights. This they want to further strengthen the developed countries, and developing countries demand special and differential treatments. So this is also preferential treatment for developing countries is also a problem which has been considered. They are still not coming to a consensus. So Doha Development Agenda still continues. Then the next issue here, this was about the principles of WTO, which you should know: transparency, enabling environment, competition, better treatment for less developed countries. Then rule-based trading, trade barriers should be removed. MFN status, which I've discussed in with respect to Pakistan too earlier, most favored nation status, means all nations should be same. No specific nation should be specially treated. And national treatment means even foreigners coming in and trading in India should be treated on par with nations. So that's why local requirement condition is also against WTO norms. That's why even in National Solar Mission program that was struck down, local sourcing requirements. So they go against WTO principle of national treatment. So that is the timeline. You can look at it in detail too. Then next is about the regional connectivity scheme. The regional connectivity scheme, which the government has already announced and will be launched soon, it provides for subsidization of flights into remote areas. So unconnected regions, such regions would be compensated for, the cost should be compensated to the airlines, and major routes will be charged by a levy, and this levy would be used to subsidize unconnected routes or less connected routes. So this is challenged by domestic airlines, and they are talking of filing a case in the court too, that this is illegal and unconstitutional. Such a levy cannot be imposed by the central government without an amendment to the Aircrafts Act. So this is the case. Now the center has come up with a modification to pacify the airlines too and making it more clearer. They say that because when they fly on these unconnected routes, they will suffer losses. So if there are losses being incurred and the subsidies also do not compensate sufficiently, then what needs to be done? Then that aircraft can be revoked. So they said that now you can revoke that aircraft within 5 working days. All planes whose registration are there in such areas can be revoked, and the center will take the responsibility for export and physical transfer of the planes in another 5 days. So this is the change to the aircraft rules of 2016, a draft rule which has been put forth. This is also highlighted because of the Kingfisher Airlines issue. When the airlines aircrafts which had been leased, the lessors wanted to revoke that, bring those planes back because they were suffering losses. But then the government regulations do not facilitate that. So now government has brought clarity that if there will be losses incurred, this will be fast tracked. So this is an assurance given by the government to the airlines. This is regarding the regional connectivity scheme. We have discussed it earlier on 19th October. You can go back and revise. Then the last news item about the ExoMars mission of European Space Agency, the lander Schiaparelli actually crash landed rather than landing smoothly with the help of the parachute and retro rocket. But then still it has sent some good data, and the scientists at European Space Agency are studying that. And European Space Agency also plans to send another rover in 2022. So that is it for today. Thank you.